A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, let's come back to a conversation about praise and worship. And as you know, there's different horses for different courses. Some people love a more traditional praise and worship, even a liturgical worship. Others love the full band and the lighting effects. And what do we do with the idea that sometimes we might think that our style of worship is better than another? Well, Grant Norsworthy is back with us. Grant is a Grammy-nominated, Dove Award-winning recording artist. And he loves to teach people about the heart of worship. He's been there and done that by way of comparing what you might think is a performance with what might be a real worship experience leading congregations. Grant Norsworthy, a special welcome back to 2020.
Thank you, Neil, for having me again. It's good to be with you.
Grant, have you noticed that there is a us against them or our worship's better than yours mentality around some churches?
Look, there can be. I can't judge people's hearts, and I don't think this is spoken out loud very often, but I think there can be a sense that some people feel like their preferred way of worshipping God through songs is perhaps the better way or the preferred way. Yes, and my father, a wonderful man who passed away just a couple of years ago, a sincere follower of Jesus, he's one of the guys who would say to me as an elder gentleman, I stay out in the foyer until that racket is over, Grant. I can't go in there. So yeah, I've been around some of that for a lot of my life, for sure.
And sometimes when you get a little older, your hearing is not as attuned or as accustomed or as tolerant to some louder music. And yes, I've noticed that too. Hey, we're
Absolutely, it's true.
We're shaped, aren't we, by our upbringing. If you're shaped in a church that has liturgical music and organ playing, there's almost like a sense of, I can experience the presence of the Holy Spirit here. But when I get into somewhere they've got electric guitars and bass and drums, I'm not feeling the presence of God. Is that a part of it as well, do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. And sometimes, I even add to that sometimes people react to how they were raised. They found the way that they were raised, where music was used in a particular way, they want to move away from that. And so they end up feeling a stronger sense of connection with God with something that was different from how they were raised. So this can often happen. I think probably at the core of the problem is perhaps a misunderstanding about what we mean when we say the word worship. We can end up very easily falling for this trap of thinking that worship is when we have a certain feeling or a certain sense of connection with God. That's what makes something worshipful. But let's be clear here, people. The worship of God is for God. The worship of God is not for the people who are worshiping Him. That's not to say that we can't have a stronger sense of God's presence or connection with Him or reverence for Him when music is used in certain ways. But let's be clear, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the sort of use of music that helps me feel that connection. Please don't think that is when worship starts, because Romans 12:1 tells us to offer ourselves as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. The opportunity to worship God is in every moment of every day for the follower of Jesus. I need to realize that the way I keep my marriage vow is a way to worship God, and the way I raise my children is a way to worship God. And yes, I want to gather with other believers as a way to worship God, and I want music to be used within that gathering as a way to worship God, and I'm hopeful that I'll have a sense of connection with God, especially through that music. But not everyone's wired like I am. Maybe Joe the plumber doesn't connect with God through music. And yes, I do have my preferred style of music to help me have those sensations of the reality of God and His love for me. But I have to be able to recognize that some other people may have those sort of senses of His presence with different styles of music to the way I prefer.
I guess there are some churches that try to meet everyone's needs. And, if you're talking about an age gap here, where some in a younger generation may well demand or expect a different worship style than someone who's in the retiree level. And sometimes churches try to meet both levels of expectation. Is that something that you find is quite a relevant and right thing to do?
Well, I like the idea of trying to use music in a way that serves the whole body of believers, and accepting the diversity. But rather than trying to find the right balance point, I'm trying to suggest that we should realise that this music stuff that we have in our church services isn't for us at the congregation. It's not for the individuals to say, I like this and that's and if you don't like what I like, then you are going to miss out. What we ideally want, and let's go for the generalisation of older people and younger people, but there are other differences. What you really want is older people saying, well, I don't really connect very easily through this newer style of music, but because I see young people in my congregation, I'm going to do my best to engage when it's not to my taste. And then you want younger people saying, well, I see a lot of silver hair in the congregation, and I know that those people seem to connect through these songs with older copyright dates, so I'm very happy to have them in the service as well, and in the hope that we can all connect with God together. I think this is an issue that's been around since Cain and Abel, and that didn't go very well. That was an argument over, well, whose worship is better. Let's recognise that we want to have a body of believers who are able to sing together. But, I don't think it's so much about the copyright date. I think different people are wired differently. Some people like lots of words in the songs and they want to sing truth and correct theology, and some people want to have simpler songs with fewer words where they can close their eyes and not have to read a big page of text. And some people like newer songs, some people like older songs, some people like songs with more spontaneity, some people like with less spontaneity. And some people want to have very personal me and you, God. I love you, you love me, God. All about the individual. And some people prefer to sing we together. And I think there's a place for all of that. It's not that one is better than the other, but we have to choose the songs and present them in a way that helps whoever we are here to serve lift their voices as one to sing together. And it shouldn't be about which songs and which styles that I like the most. You've got to set that down.
A certain level of humility and spiritual authenticity, and this is not necessarily. As I'm listening to you, I'm hearing you're talking not so much about the worship leader that's up front, or even who determines what style of worship is actually presented in church, but that level of humility has to come from every single believer who's standing in the congregation, because you're coming from different age groups. So the humility comes to individuals in church, not so much who's up on stage.
Yeah, it's certainly all of us together. If we are followers of Jesus, then we need to recognise, well, hang on a minute, this can't be about me getting what I want. This is about me being a small part of something way bigger than myself. This is about me favouring others above myself, as the scriptures tell us to do. A real breakthrough for me, Neil, was actually that term worship leader. I don't comfortably let that term land on me. Yes, I've got some musical skills. I am very happy to be in front of a church congregation with a guitar and a microphone and have the responsibility of choosing the songs. But I don't think the term worship leader, quote unquote, is a good descriptor for me. I don't think I can make an individual or a group of people worship God. It's an encounter with God that will make someone transform from an idolater into a worshipper. I am responsible for helping that group of people sing together. I believe it will be worshipful if we do. I hope it is worshipful if we do. But there's only one true worship leader in my mind, and that's Jesus the Christ. When we encounter Jesus as the Christ, we will worship, and we will worship with a full life response. I'm merely responsible for this musical expression of worship. So I like to think that these words actually, oh my goodness, it's like a bag of rocks falling off my shoulders when I realise this. That I don't have to make people worship God. I am responsible for helping them sing prayers to Him and praises of Him that we believe are worshipful. They show the worth of God. But I cannot change a heart. Jesus changes hearts.
Did you learn some lessons from your experience, PC3 and Sonic Flood? Was PC3 more performance-oriented and Sonic Flood really moved into a worshipful experience? Is this something that's helped shape your thinking here?
No, absolutely it is, yeah. For the most part, the Paul Coleman Trio, we were performing music, but we wanted to show the worth of God. Now, our biggest hit was a song called Fill My Cup. And even though the verses were kind of contemplative singer-songwriter from Paul, the choruses, Fill My Cup to the top with running water, call me out, show me how, was a prayer that Paul wrote. And we found that when that song became a hit, our audiences knew that chorus and they would sing along. And we actually found ourselves wanting to finish our concerts, sometimes, often, with our congregation or our audience singing that prayer to God. And so I saw that most of the time we were asking people to listen to us and watch us perform, laugh, enjoy the music, move to the music, but then shifting the focus to having the people sing their prayer to God. Now, Sonic Flood wanted to do that most of the time, have the people singing prayers to God. But we still had the big light show and the smoke, and there was a lot of prancing and stancing and left and right glancing in Sonic Flood as well. And it just sort of struck me that if we really wanted our congregation or our audience to forget that there was a stage and there were musicians on that platform, if we truly wanted people to focus on God, maybe we should make some different vocal, instrumental, visual, technical choices. And that's, I guess, at the heartbeat of More Than Music Mentor, equipping our local church musicians, our singers, instrumentalists, and our technicians, who are usually amateur, usually volunteer, just equip them with the skills they need to help their congregation truly focus on God and focus their sung prayers and their praises towards God rather than be distracted by anything else.
Grant, take this down to our local congregation level, whether it's a traditional, even liturgical style worship or whether it is the bright lights and the loud music. This idea of the congregation's contribution that you're saying here, almost more important than the work of the musicians on stage. An all-in together idea. This is what worship is, not the performance, but the engagement with the hearts of the people who are in the congregation, pointing them to God. Is this, if we're getting a takeaway from the wisdom you're sharing with us here, is that something that you're trying to share?
Well, it's along these lines. You can point people towards God with a concert performance or a performance, if you like. But I've found that it's far more effective and actually flat out more fun to make servant-hearted choices from the platform that allow every man, woman, and child in the congregation to focus on God and actually make the music for themselves as their expression of worship. Rather than having them listen, have them actually performing the music themselves in the congregation. And that is an expression of worship that's extremely important in the life of the church. And I think as these words cascade out of our mouths corporately, as we're together singing these prayers to God, it softens us towards the things of God in ways that listening to a cover band does not. So, yeah, it becomes about those who do find themselves with a privileged position on the platform, singers, instrumentalists, and behind mixing consoles and behind computers projecting lyrics, realizing that what we're here to do is to help our congregation sing these songs. And let's see what God does with us after we're all singing together. I think that the chances of us having that deeper encounter that we all long for is more likely when we're all singing together rather than listening to a performance.
Well, Grant, you've been speaking with Australian churches and Bible colleges a number of times this year. You're coming back to Australia in October, early November, the likelihood. And for listeners to connect with you, and there might be some who want to connect with you before such a time as that, but those who want to know when you're coming back, let me point listeners to morethanmusicmentor.com. And you can also connect with Grant at grantnorsworthy.com. But Grant, before I let you go, you do personal coaching too, don't you, for people who are aspiring musicians, aspiring worship leaders, and you do this for teams as well. People can connect with you and get some personal coaching.
Absolutely. There's a lot of totally free online resources available through those websites you've listed. I also do a lot of Zoom calls with people, phone calls. And if anyone's got any questions for me, let's set up a time. Send me an email from one of those websites, morethanmusicmentor.com or grantnorsworthy.com, and I will reply to those. And let's set up a time to have a chat about all this. And let's see if we can serve you from a distance online, or maybe I can actually arrange with you to come a bit closer to where you are and serve your churches in person, which is where I feel like I'm more effective, when I'm actually in the room with people.
Wonderful insights once again today. Grant Norsworthy, thanks so much for joining us on 2020.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.